Now that you're ready to go, I want to provide some thoughts about entrepreneurs themselves. The first question people ask is, are entrepreneurs born or made? The first thing I want to note here is that there are a lot of different kinds of entrepreneurs. Some entrepreneurs are problem solvers, others are opportunists. Some entrepreneurs have big company experience, some don't. Some entrepreneurs want to change the world, others want a lifestyle. Many entrepreneurs are in that situation because they have no choice. They lost their job or there's not employment available in the country they live in. So there's a lot of ways that people get to entrepreneurship. And because of that, the view here is that entrepreneurs are not born. Successful ones, in fact, are made, and they can benefit from a knowledge process. So I want to address the question of why do founding entrepreneurs or early CEOs get replaced? And to do that, I want to introduce the notion of the product adoption curve. So on this diagram, we have two curves. We have the one in blue and we have the one in gold. The one in blue refers to how markets adapt to products. So on the left, we have innovators. That means these are the first people to buy a new product. They're called the innovators. And we'll be talking about what characterizes innovators in a subsequent slide. But let me say this. The innovators are typically those people who camp out overnight trying to be the first person to get an iPhone 6. After that market, you have the market of early adopters. Then you have the start of the mainstream market, we'll call early majority. The early majority is that part of the market where there's a fair amount of market traction into the mainstream market. After the early majority has bought what they're going to buy, you have the late majority, and finally you have the laggards. The laggards are people who really are not interested in new products. In many cases, they may still have a flip phone or not have a cell phone at all. They just like what they like and are perfectly happy with old products. Now, the point of this is that as entrepreneurs start with the innovator market, the job function changes as they move through the majority market into the laggard market. And part of that is motivated by this gold curve here. This gold curve represents cumulative market share. So over on the left, where the innovators are, the total market share that you have from the innovators is relatively low. But as you hit the majority market, your market share grows and grows and grows, so that if you have all the laggards, you get to be very close to 100% market share. Now, you're not going to get to 100%, but the point is that your market share grows as you go through this product adoption life cycle. Now, the reason we introduce this notion is that the job of the CEO changes as your market share grows. So let me introduce the notion of the stage one entrepreneur, who is the founder. The stage one entrepreneur has the original idea. They're the person who has the is trying to evangelize the idea, get people on board. That person is suitable at the early stage of a business, but there comes a point where that person is no longer suitable and you need another kind of CEO at that process. That CEO is a person who is able to implement a process and grow the company and have it enter into the majority market. Finally, you have the stage three entrepreneur who starts somewhere in the majority market and continues on for the life of the company. And we're going to take a look now at some of the more detailed characteristics of these three kinds of CEOs. So let's take a look at the profile of the stage one entrepreneur. The stage one entrepreneur has the main job of being the evangelist. At the very early stage, there's a very small team. And so your job is to make people believe like you believe. You have to believe that the market exists. You have to believe that the product risks are minimized. You have to take the risk out. So the main functions of the stage one entrepreneur is to evangelize the idea and to take risk out. These people are decision makers, and if they don't make the decision themselves, they typically outsource a lot of their tasks. They have to be decisive. They are very upfront about problems. They are flexible, but they have a great deal of commitment. They should be coachable. But the main business problem that the stage entrepreneur has is that they're preoccupied with cash flow. They are cash constrained, and so they're always thinking about pennies and how they're going to make the next payroll. The next stage of entrepreneurship is the stage 2 person, and that's the entrepreneur that courts the early majority. The market has matured a little bit, and now they have to cross the chasm. The notion of crossing the chasm was made famous by Jeffrey Moore in the book called Crossing the Chasm, in which he said that once companies can sell to their early market stage, they have trouble getting to the majority mainstream market. And the reason for that is process. A large part of the problem is process. So this stage 2 entrepreneur has to implement a process, particularly manufacturing, sales, and customer service. That means there's a change of focus that the stage 2 entrepreneur has. The focus changes from cash flow to strategy. In this process as well, as the company grows, it's necessary for that stage 2 entrepreneur to delegate authority. Stage entrepreneurs have problems with delegation. This is their baby. They like being decisive. That's why they became an entrepreneur, because they wanted to make the decision. Now at stage 2, you start having the requirement that the CEO delegate authority. And in delegating authority, that means they have to hire expensive strangers. In stage 1, very often you're hiring your friends or your acquaintances or students you had, fraternity brothers, sorority sisters, people you know. But as companies grow, you can't hire those people anymore. You have to start bringing in strangers. And these strangers are going to cost money. So you have a hiring process. You have a training, retention, discipline process that you have to go through. And many early stage entrepreneurs have difficulty with those. And because you are bringing in new people, bringing in strangers, you're overseeing very possibly a culture change. These are different people with different work habits, different ideas about the business. And so you have to be able to manage a change in culture. Now, as the business grows still, you have the stage 3 entrepreneur. And this is when the company gets very big. It's a multi-million-dollar company. The job of the stage 3 entrepreneur is in part to manage the investors. If the company is public, you have regulatory issues as well. But investors are the owners of your business. And if they make large investments in your business, they will occasionally give you advice, if you will, on how to run your business. And so part of the job of the stage 3 entrepreneur is to manage that investor relationship. Another function of the stage 3 entrepreneur is an ambassadorial role. These are the kind of people who go on CNBC or Bloomberg and the talking heads. They represent the industry, if you will. They are also representative to the industry, that is their suppliers, their competitors, trade press, and they also have an ambassadorial role in the marketplace as well. As companies get bigger and bigger and bigger, the problem or the issue of cultural diversity gets bigger. There are a lot of people in the company now, thousands perhaps. They have different values, different work habits. They could be in different countries. And so the management of this cultural diversity becomes one of the central problems of the stage 3 entrepreneur. And finally, the stage 3 entrepreneur is the guardian of the brand. When companies get to be a certain size, large size, brand equity becomes a key asset that they have, and the job of the stage 3 entrepreneur is to guard the brand. So, to review, there are 3 stages of entrepreneurship. Stage 1 is the founder, stage 2 is growth, stage 3 is guardian. And this is why the founding CEO rarely lasts. And that's because the job changes. And so the founding CEO has to be prepared for this, has to understand how the job changes so that when a change is made at the top, the founding CEO is better understand why this is happening. So, entrepreneurial strategy questions. When you want to start a business, there are some key questions you should think about, key strategy questions you should think about early on. What form of idea do you want to pursue? Are you a trend follower? Are you a problem solver? Do you want to take a first-to-market strategy? Do you want to take a fast follower strategy? Are you going to take a product-first strategy? You're going to take a market-first strategy. What is your milestone selection process? Are you one to take the easy, short milestones that are easy to hit? Or are you one to take a more aggressive milestone and risk failing to hit that milestone? And finally, again, why do you want to be an entrepreneur? Are you in it just for the money, or do you want to solve a problem? Do you want to create progress? So the core concepts we've had in this session: entrepreneurship is a process, it's not a person. We discussed idea formation, the mechanics of starting a business, and we addressed entrepreneurial strategy. And the next set of videos we'll be discussing risk in greater detail.